Misconceptions regarding zodiac signs. How many are there? The zodiac wheel is an ancient teaching tool regarding the workings of nature. There is more upon it than it meets the eye. I find it necessary to clear up a few misconceptions involving the study of astrology. Consciousness of astrology is ever increasing in these days, and many are confused, therefore bringing about confusion regarding how many zodiac signs there are. Some say there are now 13 signs instead of 12. Some are specific, but not specific enough when they say this new, yet not new 13th sign is based on a 7-day cycle and a 28-day month. Sounding familiar? In actuality, they are speaking about the moon cycle, which culminates on 7 days and a 28-day month. Based on this solar system and a relationship to the Earth, the moon has one additional cycle, as it cycles 13 times to the Earth's 12 times. The moon cycle is in sync with the woman. She has 13 menstrual cycles per Earth year. Most, not all, are not in tune with this fact. Those who may recognize it don't acknowledge it for what it is. They often think this additional menstrual cycle comes from stress or is some kind of fluke. However, if they were to calculate and pay close attention, they will find it to be consistently true. Another misconception is the 36 zodiac sign calendar. This is attributed to the fact that for each sign or constellation, properly stellar light, there are 2 companion constellations that travel with them. Everything is in the threes, and every sign is broken up into 3 deacons or deaconettes or companion energies. When you multiply 12 signs by 3, you get 36. When you multiply 12 signs by 3, you get 36. One may think they are receiving some other or different zodiac teachings. All planetary bodies have their own cycle. We can only make determinations from what we have been taught or mistaught. We often speak of the glyphs for the planets, yet do not know the glyph for the Earth, for planet Earth, which is the circle with a cross in it, creating the 4 corners of the Earth. Within each quadrant is 3, identifying the nature of each month within the season. This symbol is referred to as the circle 7, as well as the master seal. Once we have mastered the experience of the Earth, we evolve to a higher placement or another heaven or haven of mind. Different planetary cycles were utilized throughout periods of civilization. However, it is important to know that the acknowledgement and use of one cycle did not and does not negate or eliminate another cycle. At one time, we kept close the knowledge of more than one cycle at a time. The cycle of the sun, represented symbolically by the clock, the wristwatch, and the simple yet so sophisticated sundial. We also kept in tune with the moon and of Venus. We were more in tune with the harmony and natures of the energies. We perceived Venus, conceived moon, and achieved sun. Presently, we acknowledge the traversing of Venus to her most fertile position in concert with the moon in the eastern sky. So presently we acknowledge the traversing of Venus to her most fertile position in concert with the moon in the eastern sky as Esther or Easter, Ishtar, Isis, Aphrodite, and Mayat, etc. all expressing Venus, fertility. Acknowledging during traditional and contemporary Muslim/Muslim holy days, sometimes erroneously referred to as holidays. It seems we mainly acknowledge the sun when the earth returns to the same station of the sun when we were born. We refer to this as our birthday, correctly our solar return. Some say birthday, but that belongs to your mother as she gave birth that day. Others say Earth Day. However, that comes only once in the physical lifespan when you take your first breath after being cut from your mother's navel, henceforth becoming a navigating L. Yet, it is the relationship to the sun that is actually being celebrated, celestial vibration. As your birthday, clearly, it is correctly your solar return or degree. These are just a few examples or explanations of the many cycles which exist at once. In addition, in regard to the 12 zodiac signs, the 13th would be you in the middle of the cipher. All of the universe is tied together mathematically and is mathematically correct. The proper study of universal math is geometry, or G7. Aspects are based on the geometric locations of the planets, which create angles of light energy, i.e., squares, 90 degrees. A square would be 90 degrees away from each other. If the angle is a trine, it's 120 degrees away from each other. Oppositions, 180 degrees. How those energies or angles of light react to each other determines how they act upon you and how you react to them. It is wise to recognize them as they occur in spite of anyone who may be without knowledge of them. You may choose to ignore them. However, they don't ignore you. In conclusion, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. The astrology wheel consists of more than what meets the eye. It is a teaching tool, and upon it are all the cycles of the planetary heavenly bodies within this solar system of which you traverse and beyond. Once you learn the fundamentals, it is like receiving your pilot license. If you don't know how to travel and you don't know the signs and symbols by vibration, which includes color, then you might get caught in a cosmic traffic jam or crash and burn. We don't want to crash and burn, do we? I know we don't. We don't want to do that. Let me go to the next piece of curriculum lined up. This piece, the solar system, planets are in order. Are you? So this is a question being phrased. The solar system and planets are in order. Are you? Something to think about. Let's take a look at this. We got the sun in the middle, right? Next ring, Mercury. Next ring, Venus. The third ring, Earth. Oh, third rock from the sun. Oh, that's where that expression comes from, or that show. It was a show called That Third Rock from the Sun. Oh, that makes sense now. Okay, it's the third ring. Okay. Atom and evolution of the atom, or Adam and Eve, or the atom and evolution of the atom. The solar system depicting the nucleus sun and the bands or ribs of movement in relation to each other. The bands of movement. So when they talk ribs, Remember, the holy book, when they talk ribs, now you know it means bands of movement. Just expanded your mind just now. Moon, dealing with the soul, emotions, and inspiration. Mercury, dealing with intellect and intuition. Intuition, soul and intellect together is the role that Moon and Mercury plays in conjunction. You got soul and intellect as a collective. Venus, love nature of all. The sun, dealing with life, fire, and creativity. Venus and sun in conjunction, you have love and creativity. Mars, outward actions based on passions. Earth, station in life, possessions. Mars and Earth together, you have passion and possession. Jupiter receives your gifts, happiness. Saturn dealing with discipline, sharpening tools. Jupiter and Saturn in conjunction, you have gifts and disciplines. Uranus dealing with impulses of change, requires. Neptune dealing with imagination in order to undergo. Pluto dealing with transformation, which is for the, etc. Good of all life slash collective. So all these Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto is dealing with impulse, imagination, and transformation. Your soul's emotives and intellect or inspiration and intuition, dealing with Moon and Mercury, will dictate what your love nature is and what you desire to create, or dealing with Sun and Venus. This being connected to your passions dictates your outward actions. Mars. Once you become aware of your boundaries, which are earthly slash material, you begin taking in possessions or become possessed by possessions. Earth. Your deeds and actions thus far bring you rewards or gifts and will bring you discipline, showing where you need to sharpen your tools and bring order to your life, dealing with Jupiter and Saturn. Once you are disciplined, it is necessary to make change or to make changes. Changes require imagination, dealing with Uranus and Neptune. After imagining your reality, you enter the last phase of inner transformation, dealing with Pluto, the collective unconsciousness. In the end, which is a new beginning, your growth is for the good of all, the collective. You can apply that to the body politic. If everybody grows individually, that promotes growth for the collective. It's a positive thing. What are you made of? Your sun sign is the sign you were brought to life in. It depicts your character and is a generalization of you. Your ascendant is the sign that was on the horizon when you were born. It depicts your personality and physical form. Everyone sees. Your moon sign represents your soul, your inner self. Not many see. A natal chart is necessary to determine the locations of planets and their effects on you. Deaconess, decants, or deacons, like they say in the church. Starting with your sign, notate every other sign. These will be your natural helpers in life. They will always be complementary elements. Missing something? The three signs after your sign are the signs you are strongly attracted to, as you did not receive any of their influences while in the womb, unless parents or siblings have influences of those signs. Mate. Your 180-degree polar reflection opposite is generally your best mate, a reflection of you. So let's look at this swastika, because it's dealing with our ancient culture, right? Y'all know the swastikas dealing with ancient Moorish culture. I think y'all know that by now, right? This beautiful swastika right here.
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful, man.
Yes. Spinning vortex.
Right,
Command motion.
right,
7s.
yeah,
Isn't it all over in Hindu and Navajo culture?
yep. Naga,
Hindu, Navajo, the Buddhist. If you go to like any like Buddhist temple, they'll have the swastika on the statues of Gautama. So
Yep,
yeah,
that's true. Yep.
Okay.
so you see the swastika or the earthoglyph or zodiacus, right? All these terms you see is broken up into 4. So the first quadrant is dealing with personal independent houses. In that first quadrant, you see is Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. You see it's cardinal, fixed, mutable. In the second quadrant is dealing with personal subjective houses. Those personal subjective houses, the sign is Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. The third quadrant, you're dealing with social dependent houses. The social dependent signs are Sagittarius, Scorpio, and Libra. The fourth quadrant, you're dealing with social objective houses. Those social objective houses are Pisces, Aquarius, and Capricorn. All right. A blank chart for your blueprint. Get your chart done, and all below will be unveiled to you as to the location of the planets in your chart and how they shape and form you. So we're looking at this, the same thing, but just from a different perspective. Dealing with the ascendant, then we have the descendant on its opposite. Still the same houses, but the first quadrant referred to as the East Gate, dealing with independent. The second quadrant referred now to as the North Gate, dealing with subjective. The third quadrant dealing with referred to as the West Gate, dealing with dependent. And the fourth quadrant, now referred to as the South Gate, dealing with objective. And then the cardinal points, we're dealing with Eastern Hemisphere, Northern Hemisphere, Western Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere. Once you get your chart done, you would fill this in. The sun and whoop-de-whoop house, the moon and whoop-de-whoop house, etc. Rising, Mercury, etc. And you would fill in the blanks here. So let me go to the last piece. If there's any questions, before I go into the last piece of curriculum.
So I didn't have a question, but I noticed something on one of the circles that you shown.
Mhm.
One of them said so, which was at the top, and then the bottom of it said read. So that just registered to me as above, so below. And then you're talking about how you need to balance your energies to basically learn the other elements so you can stay balanced. So that's just stuck out to me about that.
Islam, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Islam.
That's a good connection right there. Okay. So we're gonna close out with negative and positive aspects of the circle of life and you by Rosmariah Bay. You spring forth. You see the glyph of Aries with life and vigor. Glad to be here. A place is provided for you. So I'm not gonna stop and say every sign, but you see the glyph. All right, so I'm gonna start over. You spring forth with life and vigor. Glad to be here. A place is provided for you so you can think and communicate who you are.
Gemini.
The place is home.
Cancer.
where you cultivate and are recultivated. Here your origins lay. Here your self-origins lay. In the early stages of self-origins, your ability to think and communicate are affected one way or another, good or bad. You are empowered with the authority to create, or your creations are stunted. Now you begin to analyze what has been sold and how you will self-serve and others. All that is sold will be reaped. The crop is you. You're the crop. And they talk about corn. They're not talking about corn in the Bible. The harvesting and all that, it's not literal. Now you know what it means. You reap what you sow. You unite your surroundings, your deeds, your passions, and actions, and balance them equally, right, Libra? Fairly and justice. But desire takes its place. Desire, right, the little Scorpio. Your desires are representative of the inner you, and they point directly to what you will aspire for, right? At your final review, you determine how and what you will utilize from the crop of self, right? So as we move on, we're going to make refinements as we continue to illuminate. We're going to start cutting off the stuff that's unuseful so we can be the better version of ourselves. You are left with goods, spoiled or fruitful. Now you must share yourself with the world. You pour your being unto and into the outside world, which has to deal with you, good or bad. You can't help but to do so, as you are part of humanity. Once you have exposed yourself to the world, it is necessary for you to recoil back into your own self-doing or undoing, unto the recuperative waters, to perfect self and be born again. Positive results of the circle of life. One who enters on a positive level does not become stuck in their own ego-centered passions. Instead, they become givers of dynamic energy that feeds the egos of others positively. One who does not become possessive becomes a provider to self and family of others. One who thinks good and positive thoughts plants good seeds for cultivation, of which, when nurtured in a positive manner, will always create good fruit instead of crops of spoil. Upon analyzing crops, one will distribute them to serve others in a positive, uplifting manner. All that is done in the dark will be brought to light, wherein it is understood, balanced, Libra, right? In preparation for judgment. Herein, one's true desires are exposed, indicating what they aspire for. One will only utilize that which is within its understanding and share that which is in its reach. The process is then perfected. It ends and begins again with a desire to produce an unspoiled positive crop and to reach higher each time, enhancing humanity. So that's the goal. So you see all the signs play a role to get to that 12-step ladder of completion and unfoldment. Negative results of the circle of life. One who enters Aries on a negative level becomes hung up in the egotistical pursuits that serve only themselves with no recognition of the efforts of others. One who becomes obsessed with possessiveness, Taurus brings shame upon themselves. One who thinks negative thoughts, Gemini, must realize that those thoughts will play themselves out with a negative manifestation. One who nurtures not, Cancer, will produce bad fruit, which will in turn recreate bad fruit for the spoil. One who has no discernment, right, Virgo, will serve others with a cruel hand. Things done in the dark will be exposed to the light. And if they are not uniting or universal deeds, judgment of them will be stern. Right? Judgment dealing with the scales of Libra. One cannot hide from their desires. Right, Scorpio, desires. If their desires are based negatively, their aspirations will be of lower nature. So that the aspirations of the Sagittarius will be of lower nature. One who has produced spoiled fruit will not be useful, but will be abusive. If one shares with the world negative energies, thoughts, and ideas, their service to humanity is lacking. One who lives in an unrealistic negative manner will never to do it all again from square one. One who lives in an unrealistic negative manner will return to do it all again from square number one. And that was that conclusion piece. And you see how all the pieces of literature coincides together and it's still in the cosmological space, but from a different lens to help you put it all together. Of course, there's a lot more information on this topic, but once again, we want to make sure these things are the forefront of our mind. So when we're in our own space, we'll kind of expound on the topics at hand. Let me go ahead and stop this recording right quick.